Piers Morgan has made quite an impact with his Piers Morgan Uncensored show during these troubling times in Gaza. It's racked up millions of views on YouTube alone. But I'm going to say it straight. Piers Morgan is a snake. As far as I can see, there are two approaches in supporting Israel if you're in the media. One is you parrot Israel's talking points, which Piers does only slightly less than others. The worst example was the whole 40 beheaded babies hoax, and if you recall, he's tried to deny it.
But when you say decapitated 40 babies, you are planting a certain image
Well, who has
with
said
a certain
that?
trigger in people's mind.
Who has said that? Who has said 40?
Who has said that?
Who has said that?
40 decapitated?
Who has said
you
that?
You have repeated.
No, I haven't.
What?
I've never said that.
You haven't said on your show 40 decapitated babies?
I choked up earlier reading this new revelation about 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them being beheaded. And I was like, how can any human being do that to a baby? Never.
Now this was an outright lie and was debunked as such. Yet Piers Morgan aired this heinous conspiracy on his show and made millions believe it to be true. Damage done. It helped in the whole initial dehumanizing process of the Palestinians, and we're witnessing the horrific consequences now. The other option is, and this is why many people get duped and wrongly assume, oh, Piers is fair to the Palestinians. He's one of the good guys. It's when you intentionally, as a journalist, miss an open goal.
Semi-final winner for Manchester United.
I've said it from day one. It's not what a journalist says you ought to be paying attention to. It's what they don't say, what they omit, their silence. When propaganda is presented on your show as fact, and as a host, you turn a blind eye. You don't correct or push back. You don't, I guess, hold their feet to the fire. Then you're just as bad, if not worse, than those journalists who openly support Israel's crimes. Piers Morgan, you know 90% of those killed in Gaza by Israeli weapons are civilians. 60% women and children from day one. Those are figures from respected independent humanitarian organizations like Euromed. And yet you, without feeling a twinge, forget moral responsibility, not even a smidgen of professional responsibility, allow this lady's sickening lies to go unchallenged on your show.
First of all, Israel is a moral country, works according to the international law, and according to the international law, we are allowing all the Palestinians to go to the south area.
Now, fast forward to week 8-ish, the death toll has soared to 20,000. And even for Israel's best supporters, the situation is getting untenable. Piers has a problem. A big chunk of his new audience is pro-Palestine, so he needs to dial it up a notch to keep them tuned in.
I would say indisputably a humanitarian crisis there, but also they were told to go south to be safe. Now they're being attacked in the south. Nowhere is safe now in Gaza. Would you accept that?
But even here, Piers is whitewashing reality. The south was bombed all along. What's he talking about? Well, let's carry on.
It was true. The fighting was concentrating in the north, and we asked people to move to the south because they'd be safer. And that was true then.
Because Piers has left the door wide open, he's conceded a lie. Regev, this spokesperson, can simply walk straight in and say that Israel hasn't been attacking the south. They're literally rewriting history here. Truth is, Israel told Palestinians to go south, and then it bombed the route going south, and then it also bombed the hospitals and the refugee camps and the schools down south. Fact. We simply can't pretend it didn't happen.
People. Is the operation actually designed to permanently displace the Palestinian people, as some fear?
No, not at all. And we hope that people can, when the fighting is over, that people can go back to their homes, and where homes have been destroyed because of the fighting, there'll be temporary shelters for them, I hope.
Even though Piers is making more of an effort here, being a seasoned journalist, he must know that Israeli government information has already leaked into public domain and is widely reported that Israel is seriously pushing for the complete expulsion, in other words, complete ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians into the Sinai desert. The words are, quote, "to thin Gaza's population," end quote. If a lowly YouTuber like me can access and have access to this readily available public information, with a team behind him, Piers must know this too. As I said, it's not what he says, it's what he willfully bloody leaves out. On any other issue, Piers would have jumped on this vital piece of information. We're literally talking about ethnic cleansing, a war crime, and he would have used this explosive criminal information to hammer his guest with to the point of no return. But Piers buries this barbaric Israeli plan, hides it from the world, and chooses to make Israel look humane to his audience. That, as far as I can see, he's intentionally keeping in the dark.
How many terrorists have you killed?
So I can't give you an exact amount because the war is still going on, but we see the death toll in fatalities on the terrorist side in the thousands.
But if you don't know, how do you know, if you know what I mean?
Well, we've got...
I'm sorry, but again, Piers' question just lacks urgency. It doesn't reflect the catastrophe unfolding. People are dying, whole families, 15, 20, 30, whole bloodlines being erased. It's incumbent on a journalist's questioning to reflect the seriousness of what's going on in its level of scrutiny, tone, aggressiveness, and choice of language. If not now, then when? It's like he's flipping asking about Israel leaving excessive litter out in Gaza or something. Dude, they're slaughtering innocent babies out there. Show some humanity. This is probably the only good question he asks.
I watched a very disturbing report on the BBC from Jeremy Bowen tonight, where there is clear, huge aggression from Israeli settlers against Palestinians, a lot of deaths, and Hamas are not involved there. They're not the controlling body. How do you feel about that? And looking like you are encroaching more and more with the settlements throughout this conflict, is that not just incredibly inflammatory to the Palestinian people living in the West Bank?
Piers, there's been no villages that have been wiped out.
Well, I literally saw one on the BBC where it's been almost demolished and the people have been displaced. 200 or so had been displaced permanently.
So once again, I'm not sure what you're talking about, and I apologize for not having that information. But the Israeli policy on the West Bank is to live and let live, yes? And if Palestinians are not involved in violence...
Mr. Regev, with respect. That's not what's been
I disagree. I mean, it's obviously been a difficult period, but we...
But once again, the energy is all wrong. More egregiously, he fails to mention important facts. The 266 Palestinians already murdered in the West Bank since October the 7th, where Hamas is not in charge. Another unforgivable omission. And he fails to give proper weight to the settlement issue and completely omits the historic and ongoing ethnic cleansing and apartheid in the West Bank. It's only like the single most significant roadblock to a two-state solution. Yet Piers completely fails to draw attention to these crucial facts supported by Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, organisations he could have also cited to bolster his position. Imagine Piers is talking about the Holocaust and he forgets to talk about concentration camps or the gas chambers. It's information your audience needs to know because it explains how October the 7th didn't just come out of the blue. And as a journalist, it's your job to present context and the full truth, not omit information because you don't want to upset certain people and groups who can't handle the truth. Even now, knowing 20,000 civilians have perished, 8,000 of them children, literally nobody with any credibility left who believes Israel isn't purposefully targeting civilians. Piers will still only go so far. Because for Piers, forget truth. The priority isn't even good journalism. It's high viewership and saving his own skin, quickly followed by keeping his pro-Israel paymasters happy. Telling the truth is a long way third. It's there, but it gets the last straw. Fortunately for himself, he's stumbled on a winning formula. That to get high viewership, his number one priority, he needs to get on pro-Palestinian people. But to keep his Zionist masters happy, he must control what they say, using heavy framing, fallacious counterpoints, deflection, omission, and heckling, so only a little of the truth ever really seeps through. But with some truth outed, it gives the impression that he's fair. And that's why he's a snake. Because ultimately, he's only looking out for himself. All the talk of fairness and journalism is just window dressing. He doesn't care about Palestine. Heck, I doubt he cares about Israel. It's all really about him.